Brought with me the Omni, 4,155 pages. When was it produced? In the dead of the night, 1:30 in the morning when it was released. Now, people argue that it's conservatives' fault. You don't have the Christmas spirit. Somehow you're holding up government. Well, whose job is it to produce this? The people in charge of spending, the people in charge of both of the parties. When did they know that this would be necessary? Well, it's in the law, September 30th. You got 9 months, almost 10 months, to produce a plan, to have a spending plan. They weren't ready on September 30th, so they voted themselves 90 more days. They weren't ready last week either, so they voted themselves another week. And now we have it at 1:30 in the morning this morning. But what's the clamor? The clamor is to vote. Vote now. Let's get it done. Why are you standing in the way of spending?
How is it a functional process to drop a 4,100-page bill this morning, expect to vote on it tomorrow? Most of Congress hasn't had a chance to review this.
Look, the bill has been carefully worked on by the Appropriations Committee for a very, very long time. Most of the provisions of the bill were well known weeks and weeks and weeks in advance. And getting this bill done for the American people, which really matters, is the most important thing.
The process stinks. It's an abomination. It's a no-good, rotten way to run your government. $6 trillion entity, and they want 24 hours to process this, and then they want to go forward. I will be demanding 2 amendments. One, that this goes against the budget rules. The PAYGO rules say you can't do this. You can't have all this new spending unless it's offset. We will also be demanding that the PAYGO rules are increased. Instead of taking 60 votes to evade the rules, we're going to ask that it be a 2/3 vote to evade the rules. The American people don't want this. They're sick and tired of it. They are paying for it through the nose with inflation. Adding $1 trillion to the deficit will simply fuel the fires that are consuming our wages and consuming our retirement plans. It's a terrible system. Someone needs to stand up. We're standing up, and we're going to say no. Well, the real question is this. What is more dangerous? What is more dangerous to the country? $1.1 trillion in new debt, or as Republican leadership likes to say, oh, but it's a win. It's a big win. We're getting $45 billion for the military. So which is more important? Which threatens the country more? Are we at risk for being invaded by a foreign power if we don't put $45 billion into the military? Or are we more at risk by adding to a $31 trillion debt? I think the greatest risk to our national security is our debt.
I've been on the Budget Committee all 4 years, and at least when Mike Enzi was the chair, we actually had some meetings about budget mechanics, doing what you would in any other organization or entity. You would not wait until after your fiscal year is over to explain to whoever your customers were or your constituents what you were going to do for the year that already passed. That's kind of what we're doing here. This is stuff we should be working on immediately out of the gate when we hit a new fiscal year. Of course, we missed that mark when we didn't have anything done over 2.5 months ago. So until we get some type of process that's put into place, I think for the American public, expect more of the same. And what I'd expect is that you're going to get bloated budgets that increasingly are filling in the lack of having political will to actually raise funds for whatever you're spending. We're borrowing, when I got here, it was about $1 trillion a year. A lot of it's driven by entitlements, stuff that we never have the political will to actually look at. It's now up close to $1.5 trillion. President Biden actually put a budget out there that doesn't apologize about it. It puts us into $1.5 trillion annual deficits with another $15 trillion in debt over the next 10 years. Anyone that thinks that's a good business plan, I've got my own theory. I believe that we get rolled by the other side of the aisle. They're unapologetic about their appetite for spending. This place is their growth business. And then we, as fiscal conservatives, complain about it, but then go along with it. And whenever this is just a quid pro quo game without doing any real work of rolling up your sleeves, it's going to be the same result.